Okay, folks, let's get started. If you have gadgets, including phones, that make noise, please turn off the ringer. If you have any papers for us, Mr. Curran is the person to see. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling,
Present.
Harrison, Hinkleman,
Here.
Majerick,
Here.
Hotch,
Here.
Pittsburgh,
Here.
Ballraff,
Here.
Werfel, here, Yarborough,
Present.
Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. And Harrison will be along. I'll join PHS just in case you need a third person there today. Chokwe and Michael, I'll plan to spend some time with you. Minutes from the 22nd.
Would
Need
make
to
a
be
motion.
approved. Moved by Freeling. Is there support? Supported by Pitchford. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Requisition review.
Good morning. Just a reminder, your per diems are due today, so please make sure I get those. If you need a blank one, let me know. Does anybody have any questions about the requisitions as they were presented? Thank you.
Thank you. Scheduled discussion. Dan Fetty's going to talk about dredging the harbor.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
And that's gonna pull up some slides here. Thank you. Sorry, there's been an increased concern about the condition of the St. Joe River, the shoaling that's occurred there recently that could render certain areas of it maybe unnavigable in the summertime. There's been very high water levels over the last 7 or 8 years. We haven't had any real substantial flood events, and that's kind of made some benign conditions and made it easier for the boaters. But of course, in a cyclical process, water goes up, it goes down, shoaling occurs, and eventually there's some problems. And we've been through this before in trying to do what we can to assist in getting the river cleared out or dredged. The last time the county was involved in anything of this nature, I think maybe Commissioners Hinkleman, Yarborough, and Elliott may have been the only ones that were around at the time we did this last. So I prepared a quick presentation to kind of explain a little bit of the history of what's gone on with river dredging, what the county's involvement has been, and then kind of talk about some steps that we may be able to take to help address the issue down there. So we have been told that there are observed depths of between 2 and 4 feet. Some areas of the river, essentially what I'm told is near the Tackle Haven docks over on Riverview Drive. Dredging, by the way, that's pretty shallow. I mean, I think most boats, I'm not a boater myself, but my recollection is that a boat of maybe 35 feet has to have about 3 or 4 feet of water to pass through safely. Dredging of this area last occurred in 2013. It was funded by Berrien County and the MDNR under a permit that was held by Berrien County at the time. Subsequently, Berrien County dissolved its harbor authority, which had been kind of the supervising body that managed this work. And the dredging permit that the county held for this area of the river expired in 2018. I went and looked, there are no active permits held by either an individual, an association, or government anywhere in the affected area of the river right now. So there's no permit allowing for dredging activities held by anyone. Now, we could apply for a new permit to allow for dredging activities in the river if we could find a way to get some of those costs reimbursed. We think it's probably going to cost about $50,000 or so to get the application in, and I'll explain some of the activities that we have to undertake to make that happen. Dredging activities could be conducted under a county permit, but we don't have a source of paying for the actual dredging itself right now. So if there were to be dredging, there'd have to be some kind of privately funded process to do this and then managed under our permit. I keep talking about the permits. Let me explain to you. Under the Michigan Environmental Protection Act and the Federal Clean Water Act, you can't dredge a state waterway without a permit issued by both the Corps of Engineers and Eagle. That permit requires an engineering study to identify the areas that are going to be dredged. In other words, an underwater survey of the river to identify where the problem areas are. You have to look at the chemical composition of the dredge material to make sure it's not contaminated. If it is contaminated, that requires special handling provisions. You have to calculate the volume of the material you're going to remove from the river, and then you have to be able to propose a location of where that material will be placed after it's dredged. Again, if it's clean material, which traditionally it has been, then you can kind of put it wherever you want without restrictions. If it's got contaminants in it, if it's dirty, then we have to take it to a landfill, or, I mean, it becomes very expensive to handle it, but we haven't had those issues, at least historically. The challenges to getting this accomplished are you got to do the bathymetry, that is the underwater surveying. You have to do that both before dredging activities and after dredging activities, and that's expensive to do. The material that comes out of the river is about 30 or 40% water. So you have to place it somewhere near the river after you remove it and allow it to kind of like dry out for a while before you can actually take it to its final location. So we have to identify a place to dewater the material. Traditionally, we have used an area at Pier 1000 to allow that to happen. Again, due to riverfront development, it's hard to find these areas, but we think we could probably use some spots at Pier 1000 to do that. The biggest hurdle right now is that from May until the end of June, the state does not allow dredging occur in this river. And that's because it's a period of spawning for sturgeon in particular. And the concern is that dredging activities would interrupt that spawning process. So there are opportunities to ask for waivers on that moratorium, but you have to show an emergency need in order to get this waived. So time is very, very short if the county is going to undertake the work to acquire this permit and get dredging accomplished before that moratorium. This is what we've done in the past, and this is really why I wanted to show this to the commissioners that weren't here previously, so you understand how this works. In 2008 and 2013, the county did apply for and received the permit to dredge the St. Joe River from Napier Avenue all the way up to Bicentennial Bridge, and that was the 5-year. Both of those were 5-year permits. The county actually paid for dredging in 2009, 2010, 2011, and 2013. And there was also, I believe in 2012, there was some privately funded dredging that occurred as well. This is the area of the river we're talking about. As you can see, it's the green and yellow line kind of shows the channel that had to be created to allow boats to pass. Right now, I don't know if this, yeah, I don't think right now, I'm told that this is where the problem is right there. And there could also be problems down here as well. So we'll have to do a survey. If we're gonna undertake this work, we'll have to do a survey mainly in keeping with this line. And that, because the natural flow of the river, that's where the sediment always occurs. It's just, it kind of gets deposited right there all the time. Incidentally, water levels are actually above their average right now. They're about a foot above their long-term average. So it's not low water that's causing this, it's sedimentation. So the county and the DNR, in these past dredging efforts, the county and the DNR covered all of the costs of these dredging cycles, with the exception of Pier 1000. The owners of Pier 1000 donated $45,000 directly to the 2009-2010 dredging. That was the only private donation that was provided. In 2014 and 2015, the county proposed, knowing that we just couldn't continue to spend money on this and appropriate special funds and so forth, we proposed issuing a bond through the Board of Public Works and taking the revenue of that bond sale and depositing it into a sinking fund that we could use to pay for dredging activities on an as-needed basis over a 10-year period. To retire the debt on that bond, we proposed levying special assessments against slip owners and commercial operators within this district. And we went so far as to develop the entire plan, including the assessment roll. When the numbers of that came out, the proposal was met with pretty considerable resistance from a number of members of the boating community. I don't want to cast too broad a statement here. Some of the members of the community and some marinas were supportive of this plan, but there was very strident opposition from some members of the community about levying a special assessment for these purposes. As a result, the local governments understandably withdrew their support for this project, and we basically closed the project at that point. It never went forward. Because of that, largely, and some other issues we had with land use policies within the harbor, in 2016, the county's harbor authority petitioned the County Board of Commissioners to dissolve it. They said, we've done what we can. We've tried everything that could work here. there's no longer any reason for us to be meeting. We should dissolve the harbor authority and return the maintenance of the river back to the local communities who are affected by it. And I think a number of the commissioners were around when that happened. As a result, the dredge permits the county had ran their length to 2018, at which case they are expired. This is a summary of what happened from 2009 to 2014. You see in the 2009 through 11 dredging projects, it was a total of $401,000 were spent on dredging and other associated fees. 2013, it was $399,000. And then in 2014, the county expended about $46,000 in legal and financial expenses pertaining to the proposed special assessment project. So in total, over those 5 years, dredging activities and associated management costs were $847,000, of which Berrien County paid $497,000. That came out of largely the fund balances of the Board of Public Works and the Environmental Services Fund. We ran those fund balances down to zero to pay for all of this. And in fact, they're still essentially at zero today. So to summarize, because the areas of the river that require dredging are that impact recreational boaters appear to be in multiple jurisdictions, it would be simpler for a single entity, the county, to apply for and hold a permit that encompasses all these areas. Although the local governments certainly could do so if they were willing to. It's simpler to have it coordinated through one body though. I've met with St. Joe Township and the City of St. Joe, both of their respective boards, and they have both indicated a willingness to help pay for this permit application, depending on its cost. I do want to emphasize, in the absence of a special assessment district, which we don't have right now, the county has no method of raising funds to pay for the actual dredging itself. We can't pay for it right now. Private parties could certainly do this under a county permit, but they would be required. We would have to supervise the activity to make sure it's consistent with any of the conditions of the permit that we would receive. And time is of the essence here. We have circulated, I think you're aware, we circulated an RFP at the beginning of the week to local engineering firms to perform the surveying, the design, the chemical analysis, and to prepare and submit the application on our behalf. Those proposals are supposed to come back Wednesday morning. We'll open them, we'll review them, we'll discuss them with the board, finance committee, and our local communities. And if there's agreement, we could probably have an engineering firm in place either by the end of next week or shortly thereafter to get the work done. But again, it's going to be a very big challenge to try to get this accomplished before the moratorium goes in place in May. But we'll do our best. If the county's in support of this, we'll do our best to make this happen as fast as possible. Okay.
Any questions around the horseshoe? Dave?
Yeah, what do you think the chances are of getting an emergency permit to do it earlier? Regular process.
Probably pretty slim. There's not a really well-established process to do that. And because you got to start from scratch each time, you got a chemical analysis, surveying, and all this stuff. What's that?
And then where do we show the emergency?
Well, to show the emergency, you have to do the survey to show that there's an emergency, right? So there's probably a very slim chance that we can accelerate the permitting process. If there is going to be any hope and assistance from the state, it'll be getting a waiver on the dredging moratorium, which we have applied for and received in the past.
Okay. And that would come through Eagle.
That comes through Eagle.
Questions? Yes, sir.
So you stated that there's no mechanism right now that allows for us to cover the cost. But for the future, is there a mechanism or a possibility that we could take funds coming from property taxes of those who do pay the boat slip owners? Is there a way that we could create a fund that could cover costs like this in the future?
Well, the Board of Commissioners can always appropriate funds for a public purpose. So, I mean, that's as a blanket statement. If the board determines that they want to do that, they could establish a fund and appropriate revenues into it. When I say there's no way to pay for it right now, what I mean is there's no independent revenue source other than the general revenues that you already have budgeted. There's no independent revenue source to pay for this. I will tell you, I'll editorialize and tell you my own personal feeling is that the appropriate way to do it would be to have the special assessment district levied and have the cost paid for by the users itself, much in the same way you would with a water or sewer project.
Chokwe, then Jim, then Madam Chair of Finance.
In the absence of a special assessment district, could you give any criteria or thoughts? Because you said it would have to be a private party that would have to do this. What type of organization or individual would have the capacity to take something like this on?
Well, that's a challenge, right? I mean, because you'd be relying on all of the users of the waterway to voluntarily coordinate donations of some nature and do a fund. It happened, Kathy, I think in 2012, you guys did it, where they raised private funds. And my recollection is that, was it Pier 1000 that served as kind of the coordinating body for that? Yeah. So it can be done, but it's difficult to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And refresh my memory, didn't we used to dump the material out at the airport? And didn't you apply for Tiger grants before to do this?
It's two different things, actually, Commissioner. The material that goes out to the airport comes from the Corps of Engineers dredging of the commercial harbor, which would be the turning basin by the hotel out to the pier heads. And they dredge that every year, every other year under a federal program. That material is taken to the airport. Okay. We have in the past put river material out of the airport when we ran into one occasion where the chemical analysis indicated that it was not suitable for unrestricted placement somewhere. So we had to take it to the airport. But that's two different programs. And the Tiger grant that we applied for, which is a federal program for infrastructure funding, that was to reconfigure the commercial harbor to move most of the commercial dock operations out by Lafarge, the cement plant. And then the inner harbor was going to be reconfigured for recreational development. That actually didn't go forward though, largely because I think the city of St. Joe and city of Benton Harbor were not interested in that kind of reconfiguration.
Okay, now back when they had the Harbor Authority, who comprised the Harbor Authority?
It was, the Harbor Authority was incorporated by the county board as an advisory body, and it was appointed by the board itself. The Harbor Authority had no independent power. It was an advisory body.
Gotcha.
But it was there basically to allow concerns like this to be brought to a single forum. There's been discussion, the newspaper article this morning talked about the efforts to create a new harbor authority that would actually be comprised of the municipalities itself. I do want to emphasize something so there's no misunderstanding. A harbor authority of that nature would not have any power beyond what the communities themselves possess. They wouldn't have an independent power to tax or raise money or levy assessments. It would only be an authority that would share an agreement that the communities would be sharing their municipal powers for a specific purpose. That's it. It doesn't create any other possibilities that the communities don't already have.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Amy.
Yes. Municipalities that are involved.
I was on the Harbor Authority, and I don't know if we ever did this. Will this affect the country club? I don't know what else to call it, or the hospital? Does it go that far that way?
Well, previously we did survey all the way down to Napier Avenue Bridge. You run into real technical engineering challenges. When you get that far upstream, how do you get the material from there somewhere else? It becomes a real challenge to do. Candidly, I'll say it in a public meeting, one of the reasons we didn't pursue that area of the river is because the one marina that was most affected indicated that they had no willingness to contribute to the project. That may be different now. That was 10 years ago. But at the time, they said, we're not going to contribute financially to anything. So we said, well, then we'll focus on those areas that we know we can deal with.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I know that
It's
place
just St. Joe and St.
almost
Joe Township.
The municipalities would be the city of Benton Harbor, St. Joe, and St. Joe Township. Now, where that stands right now is that last year, all three communities passed resolutions agreeing to start the process to form a harbor authority. Okay. I imagine that this is going to motivate that discussion a little bit now and maybe get it moving forward more quickly. I've actually worked with them to try to draft up articles of incorporation for that new authority. And I can't speak for the communities, but I think there'll probably be a new impetus to try to get that accomplished.
One more?
One more question for you, sir. other communities or other counties that have rivers that are big enough to need to be dredged or anything of that nature, how do we do this process better than them? And then what are places that we could maybe learn from how to facilitate this process?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. One of the problems is it's hard to find anything on the west coast of Michigan where you have a major recreational waterway that is abutted by 3 different local governments, right? And that's where the real challenge is, because there's no single government is willing to take on the full responsibility of managing this when it affects their other neighbors as well. The reason the county is, I think, continuously kind of brought back into discussion is because we're the only government entity that kind of covers the whole area, so to speak. Douglas and Saugatuck have had similar issues because they kind of both share the Kalamazoo River area, and they have created a joint authority to manage that process. Another thing to emphasize is that we're speaking of this as though it's solely a government responsibility. The permits are individuals, associations, private corporations are all eligible to apply for this. The reason that the county has done it traditionally is just it's easier and more expeditious to coordinate all of those interests in one spot. Thank you.
We have some things to think about. We also have about 17 minutes to get through the next presentation, but before we do, Brian, I think you wanted to recognize some folks who are here.
Yeah, so members of the board, today you're going to receive an update from Animal Control on a pretty sizable donation. We have a variety of folks from Friends of Berrien County Animal Control that should be recognized. Sue, I'm hoping that you and your group would be willing to stand up and just show your faces. Is that something you'd be willing to do? All right. So members of the board, over the past several months, this group has funded the purchase of a vehicle that is providing great assistance to animal control. So in the past, as we moved animals around the county or even down across the state line for a variety of medical appointments, we've been doing it with one of the trucks that would be used by the control officers. It is not even close to being efficient. In the past couple of weeks, we've received the keys to the van donation. This group paid for 100% of that donation. In addition to the van donation, this group provides each year tens of thousands of dollars for building updates, sound deadening within the building, fencing installation, and then just a ton of money goes into helping with medical supplies for the operation. And it's more than just donations. This group actively works at the shelter to volunteer time, to move animals about, to ensure that they're getting exercise, to ensure that they're assisting with adoption efforts. This is a group that really is doing a phenomenal job as far as helping financially, as well as just pouring labor into the operation. And board, I just wanted to take a minute so that you can see their faces and hopefully say thank you. And I will start that by saying to the friends, thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're going to hear from Ashley, but ladies, suffice to say, we owe all of you a debt of gratitude for what you've been doing and what you continue to do. Thank you very much. Animal control update.
There you go.
All righty, thank you for having us here today. So what we're wanting to do is just kind of go over some of the things like Brian was saying, what Friends has done for us, the van donation and those sorts of things. So just ever since Friends has been created, we've had a really positive partnership with them. They were able to also extend a partnership to Bits for Barks, which is where they were able to obtain a large majority of the funding for the van donation. We're also partnered with them again this year. They're helping us raise funds for spay and neuter, medical procedures and that sorts of things. So Friends and Bits for Barks, they kind of pair together really nicely and bringing in more funds to help the animals in our community. There's also a lot of individual donors from the community that help Friends. They give them money, they help them network and resource different things that can help the shelter overall. So it definitely takes a whole community to keep the shelter going, and Friends is a beautiful example of that. They make miracles happen for all the animals that come into our shelter. They kickstarted our heartworm program, so they partnered with Dr. Hunter at Arrow Pet Clinic. So usually what would happen traditionally is an animal would come in, we test it for heartworm, so adopters would know what was going on. This can be anywhere from a couple $100 up to a couple $1,000, depending on what the extent of this heartworm infection is in this animal. So friends, we were discussing and they're like, okay, let's go ahead and start treatment for these animals. That'll make them more adoptable. And it has just been such a thriving program that we continue to do this. So any animal that comes in that has heartworm, it's not, will you be able to survive this disease? It's okay, we have you, we have you treatment, we have you treated. Dr. Hunter will get you going and we don't have to worry about, what their lifelong, quality of life is going to look like. We just know that they're going to be cared for. Other medical procedures that they've helped with are being able to diagnose when we get senior pets in. We know senior pets struggle in shelters just because, floors aren't as soft as carpeted floors in a home. We just got to kind of evaluate, what their long life is going to look like. So they're able to help us do senior panels, make sure that those animals are going to thrive. And if we get in any emergency cases, so hit by car dogs, gunshot dogs, dogs or cats that just come in that we have no idea how they got injured, broken legs, those sorts of things. They, instead of it being, okay, can we actually physically care for you here? Friends hops in and they say, okay, let's reach out to vet clinics. Let's try to get them in and get them their x-rays. Let's get them hospitalized, whatever that animal needs to give them a better positive outcome rather than us needing to evaluate, is it humane to keep this animal at our shelter? So they definitely are making happiness and miracles happen for all the animals that come in that are injured and need that extra care. They also have gone ahead, and when we had our consultant from Outcomes for Pets come in, she recommended all the animals have Corunda beds and martingale collars, more enrichment. They've gone out and they purchased our martingale collars. They are constantly buying our slip leash harnesses so all the animals can comfortably be walked and not have to worry about anyone escaping, because we are right near Napier, so it's a little high traffic. They make sure that we have anything basically that we need. Like MDARD did our evaluation last year and they said, we need to get rid of the cat towers that have the carpet on them. So they went out and they bought us this beautiful cat tree that has like 6 different beds on it and these cool little nests. And we wouldn't have been able to afford it, honestly, without them. So they help the animals on a daily basis just improve their life, besides coming in and walking, petting, brushing, anything that they need. They also do adoption events. They help us take animals to adoption events, and the van's going to do just that, because usually it was, all right, what's our army of volunteers going to look like with our 12 vehicles and 16 people driving, our 8 dogs to get over there. With our van, we're actually going to be able to put everyone in the same vehicle and arrive at the destination all at once instead of trying to strategically maneuver a whole group of people. They provide supplemental funds for spays and neuters. We have a lot of unaltered animals coming through our shelter, so they help us to be able to afford all the spays and neuters that we need to provide to the community. They also are the main sponsor for our sound tiles, our new play yards that we have, and just making sure that we're able to provide a good quality care for all the animals coming into our shelter. So this is what our old truck looked like. We still love our truck. It's still very useful. But when you have animals coming out of surgery, if you have injured animals being transported to their new rescue or new foster home, this isn't the comfiest ride to their new place. So what we have traditionally been able to do is 4 large dogs, 2 possible puppies. As you can see, let's see, does this work? No. Okay, so in the top corner, you can see that's what our puppy box looks like. Not super inviting, kind of dark and scary. And then like the back of the truck, we put blankets down to help dogs not slide around. In the new vehicle, we're going to actually have pads and mats and things so the animals won't be sliding around in back. They'll have blinkies and they'll be heated and air conditioned through all the travels that we do. On average, to get to our spay and neuter appointments, it takes about 45 minutes. So for the dogs being picked up in the county and brought to the shelter, it's about 10, 15, 20 minutes at most to go to appointments and things like that. They'll be much more comfortable in the van. So this is our cool new van. We're able to fit, right now we have 17 carriers. So like with our truck, like I was saying, we could only fit 4 large dogs. Now we're able to fit about 10. And then we can fit a slew of cats, whereas we're limited in the truck because we put them in the back seat. We could get real fancy and put them in the passenger seat too, but we always worry about safety on transport. So we like to have everyone buckled in and securely fastened in. The van costs about $39,000, just shy of $40,000. And like I put in there, we can fit 6 to 8 medium to large kennels, but we've been playing Jenga with it most of the week, and we're figuring out that we can fit a lot more in there actually put in a little bit of effort on how we stack kennels and things like that. We actually have a backup camera on this. With the truck, we don't. So it was always hanging out the window, having someone kind of direct us because we wanted to be extra safe when we're at spay neuter appointments, because at ABC you can get very busy and we have a lot of pedestrians walking around. So backup camera is a beautiful safety feature we're very happy to have now. And like I said, no more multiple trips, vehicles, or drivers. Usually if we had two different clinics willing to offer us appointments, it'd be two different vehicles, two different drivers, two different trips. Last Tuesday was a beautiful example. We had appointments at ABC in South Bend. We had appointments at the Humane Society Elkhart in Goshen. So in one trip, it only took an hour to drop everybody off and come back, and they were back in record time. So we were very excited for that new improvement on being able to drop everybody off to their appointments. And this will help get animals move through the shelter quicker, because we only adopt out spayed and neutered pets now. So getting them into the appointments faster and being able to do mass amounts will definitely help us in the long run. So if you would like to help, Friends of Marion County Animal Control, they provide us with about $42,000 annually to do medical care, enrichment, other items that the shelter can need. If you would like to help support our Friends of group, they have a Facebook page with a nice little donate feature. You can email them to chat with them about different things, or they also have a website that you can go to. And in case we have a couple of people missing, so I included pictures of everybody at the bottom. So that's just kind of where we're at. Any questions?
Any questions for Ashley? Yes, sir.
This question isn't related to the presentation, which very thankful for all the things that are happening at the animal control, all the help that we're receiving. This is more relating to an incident that happened, I believe, a few days ago. And I believe we have people who are involved in that situation here today, and we can settle that situation offline. But Ashley, could you speak to the process of what happens when a dog is picked up, and all the things that have to occur in order for that dog to be returned to his owner?
Absolutely. So when an animal's brought into us as a stray, and especially if it's brought in through an ACO, so our animal control deputies, they do the best they can to link up to an owner before coming to the shelter. Once the animal's at the shelter, we continue to monitor Facebook pages and things like that to try to connect with owners. A lot of times it's just a waiting game till the owners come in. Once the owners have been found or they come in, then we have to have them provide proof of ownership after they identify their animal. Proof of ownership per Thaddeus and per the state of Michigan is vet records. The animal has to be microchipped. Well, if it's microchipped, then that's a proof of ownership. It has to have a dog license. That can be a proof of ownership. Bill of sale or adoption contract that happened previously before them coming in. Having an animal identification tag, so a collar with the name written on the collar, an actual ID tag that has the name and the owner's name or phone number on there. If the owner's information's not on there, then the ID tag doesn't provide proof of ownership. But we have to have one of those many things in order for us to be able to legally adopt or return the animal to the owner. Otherwise, there's no solidified proof of ownership. And in our ordinance, it also kind of touches on that the animal should be redeemed back if it's licensed. So.
Can I just add to that real quick, Ashley?
Absolutely.
Commissioner, under the animal control ordinance for the county, licensing is proof of ownership, and licensing is required for all dogs in the county. So there's no reason for an owner not to license a dog. And if they do what they're required to do under the ordinance and license that dog, then returning the dog is simple.
Question.
Two-part. First part, do we have an idea of how many dogs in the county are actually licensed? And then secondly, is there a fee associated with licensing a dog?
Yes, there is. So I can give you a rough estimate, and it's probably 1,000 to 2,000 dogs in the county, and that's very rough. I can actually get a number for you if you'd like afterwards. But licensing is pretty simple. If you have your pet spayed or neutered, it's $12 for 1 year, $27 for the 3 year. If it's unaltered, then it's $27 for 1 year, $72 for the 3 year. And if you're delinquent, so 30 days past when your previous license expired, we add on $20 to that fee to compensate for that delinquent fee.
Members of the board, I know that we're bumping up against the time limit. You've got a packed room. I'm sure there's plenty of public comment to be offered. I know that with the Friends group, I'm looking at a sheet that Sue is holding. Before we wrap up Ashley's presentation, from the Friends, is there anything that you wish to add into the record? If so, we'll just ask that you use the microphone. Okay. All right. Okay.
Any other questions for Ashley? All right, we'll conclude the scheduled discussions and move to public comment. I would note that we normally break at 9:15 because we have 3 committees with 3 sets of appointments. Today, I know Finance is doing some bid openings. PHS is looking at some internal procedures, meeting schedules, frequencies and such. Building and Grounds is going both to admin and finance. Sheriff's Department, I see the sheriff's folks are here in the back, so be mindful of that. And they're coming to admin to do a report. So we've got a limited amount of flex in that accordion in terms of how much we can squeeze in order to keep our committee schedules. With that, if anyone wishes to be heard, please come to the microphone or your voice will be picked up there at the podium. State your name and town, and you have up to 2 minutes if you need it. Yes, sir.
Hi, Larry Bowman, St. Joseph. Over the last couple of weeks, I've heard comments that the county weren't aware of the traffic problems down, going into the Silver Beach. And I personally have talked to, going back all the way to Randy Rude, to Bill Wolf, to Bill Chickering, Brian Bailey, and Brian Descent about the problem for years. And, I just want to go on record to say that really it's a problem that the neighbors down below the bluff really have to live with. And it's an easy solve. I think even Brian said, we met with Brian, John Hodgins introduced us, and he said, I think that problem can be solved, and it can be solved. It just has to try to be solved. So anyway, I just want to go on the record that the county has been aware of all these things, and also Briante. We've met with Briante many times. So
Thank you. Could I ask you a question?
yes.
Do you believe that there is any linkage whatsoever in doing a traffic survey, or as you said, solving the traffic flow problem and upgrading the equipment, the playground equipment at Silver Beach County Park?
Do I believe it should what?
You believe that there is any linkage between upgrading?
Oh, yeah, they're definitely linked, of course.
Okay.
Because it's going to bring more traffic in. It's going to bring more traffic, and we're 100%. Listen, we use that playground like you wouldn't believe, the grandkids, and we're 100% for that. It's just that we got to get the parking problem solved. That's the key. And there's ways to do it very, very easily, and I'd be willing to be on a committee to, help with that. I've watched it for 30 years.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you. I see someone was behind you.
Yes,
advising
June
you.
Bowman,
Yes, ma'am.
360 Lake Street, St. Joe.
What would
I just
you
want
like
to
say?
add that we've been working on this if you would have told me 15 years ago, we'd still be standing here talking about this issue, I would not have believed it. I heard Mr. Fetty say the county can't appropriate funds. If we would have appropriated funds 15 years ago to work towards a goal to resolve this problem, we wouldn't be standing here. We wouldn't be holding the playground up because the traffic issue hasn't been solved. To give you an example, it's not just the residents that are bothered. We have the #1 restaurant destination in the county, Silver Beach Pizza, on a weekend when the traffic backs up all the way to the 3-way stop, and it has backed all the way up to Main Street. You walk down to Silver Beach Pizza, the parking lot is empty. I was shocked when I saw that. I went inside, the restaurant's packed. And so I did my own little survey, walked around and said, where did you park? One lady said, we just came out of the toy company. We saw the line was all the way up to the stop sign. We just walked down. The retailers are being impacted by the fact that Silver Beach pizza patrons can't park their cars down there. Beachgoers park up in the retail space. If you could just simply, and then there was a test that was done last summer on a Friday. It was not a real warm day. We were certain that this test was going to go on for 3 days. I worked for a corporation that when you test a product, you don't do it for one day and you don't give it to someone that doesn't have the background to know how to do a test. And that young man said it was terrible. You don't want to do that with one person that's not qualified to handle something like that.
2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay,
Same question for you, as I assume you are related in some
this is my
way?
husband, yes.
Okay.
And we see this down there. It's lucky nobody's gotten hit.
The same question, slightly modified. Do you believe that the improvements, including handicapped accessible playground equipment, that those should be held hostage for anything to do with improving traffic flow?
Unfortunately, I do, because this
Okay.
is the only way we can get the county's attention to resolve this problem.
And you understand there's been significant fundraising.
We
There's
do,
a state grant
we do.
at risk. Okay,
And we do understand the county has been fully aware of the problem we've had down there and has not addressed it.
do you think we should just close the park?
You know what? I think that's a whole nother discussion. That's up to
Well,
you.
I'm asking you, do
That's
you
up to
think we
you.
should?
I don't know. Is
Well-
that how you want to handle it?
How long have you lived there?
He's been there over 30 years.
Was the park there when you moved in?
No,
There was no Silver Beach at all?
It was owned by,
Bob
Leka?
Warren owned it.
Because we established Silver Beach County Park in 1991.
Right.
I was here actually
Yeah,
when
and
we
I was on the
established it.
board to help that.
And you've lived there all during that time, correct?
Yes,
How long has Silver Beach Pizza been there?
since '05.
Okay.
how
You
long have our
underst-
retailers been there?
Well, quite a while, I'm sure, but you've got the Splash Pad, Silver Beach, the Children's Museum, and the county park, which provides significant economic benefit chiefly to the city of St. Joseph. It's a destination park. And I'm talking now, and I didn't interrupt you, so please bear that in mind. If we have a ADA compliant upgrade to playground equipment held hostage to what you perceive to be a need for a traffic problem, which I don't think the county's ever refused to address, but I believe the city has to be involved in that because these are city streets. It's somewhat like back in the 80s, Carl Ganadke was in the State House, Harry Gast was in the Senate. Both of those men were farmers. While they were in the legislature, the right to farm laws were passed in the state of Michigan to address a situation where folks who lived next to farms wanted the farmers to stop farming because farming inherently involves maybe some dust, some noise, sometimes some odors, depending on what's happening at the farm at that particular time, could be fertilizer. In any event, they wanted the farmers to stop farming because they wanted their bucolic setting uninterrupted by farming. That was viewed as an unfair and rather self-centered request. The legislature addressed that by saying, no, the farmers have a right to farm. If you choose to live next to the farm, understand the farm is going to continue. It's not a perfect analogy, but if you choose to live next to a major recreation area in the county, one that is an interstate facility. I was in court down in Muncie, Indiana recently. Somebody said, oh, you're from Berrien County. We go to Silver Beach. We really like it. And beyond that, to say, you should lose the grant, you should return the funds that were raised to improve the playground equipment, which apparently your grandchild uses, unless you address what we want in terms of traffic flow is repugnant to me.
Well, we feel it
And-
ways too.
Well, I'm just saying, if that's your position, so be it. But the farmers have a right to farm. The people who go to that beach that's been a beach forever have a right to go there. And if you choose to live by there, understand there are certain times of the year you're gonna have some traffic. And Silver Beach Pizza probably more so than any place because their hours extend into the evenings. You probably go there to Silver Beach Pizza. Everybody who does goes back because it's so good. But just understand, we've been asked to help with dredging. The county has traditionally weighed in on that and been a big player in improving not only the harbor, but recreational use of the river because it's good for the community. It's chiefly good for the city of St. Joseph. This matter comes back to the city commission on the 25th.
Right.
If Parks is held hostage, if the playground equipment, including the equipment to make playground use enjoyable for handicapped children, if that's held up, I would be loath to do anything further in terms of dredging or you name it.
Well, I would,
And then if we have to talk about closing Silver Beach, I'm prepared to have that conversation as well, because I will not entertain this kind of nonsense saying we should not improve a park and playground equipment for children, for Pete's sake. So you can get what you want. No, ma'am. Now, does anyone? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to add, as a member of the admin committee, which is a parent committee for roads within the county, I understand, and we just did an evaluation of roads and in Napier, because they were going to diet them, drop it down. We were looking more at the long-range plan, and the roads, as Mac so eloquently said, does belong to the city. The city did redo Lake Boulevard down there a few years ago. Probably more than a few now, time flies. But within the last 10 years, they redid it. They made it very beautiful as a boulevard, but they chose to not put a third lane in, to not put a roundabout in, to not do those things. That's their prerogative, but that was a city decision to not expand the ability for traffic during the summer months. That we have no control over that because it's not a county road.
but
But
you
when
do
we
have control if
evaluate,
you're not
again,
doing
I'm
anything.
speaking like Max said, you had your chance.
Not really.
We evaluate long-term, we evaluate on any road, those kinds of things so that we do put things into place. But again, that's prerogative on that road because it is their road. Our property starts at the gate.
Well, I just want to say we were quite shocked when, we all want the playground. We were quite shocked when a coinciding resolve for the traffic did not come with it.
So we should hold up the playground.
I don't think you can put that back on us.
Well, you said that we should.
We've
hold it
done
up.
many things to help with traffic.
Who else wishes to be heard? Please come forward, name and town if you wish to opine, and you have up to 2 minutes. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Kevin Ivers, and I'm a resident of the city of Bridgman. I'm a third-generation voter. A certain member of my family would say that I'm addicted to voting. I don't disagree with that, or I don't agree with that, I should say. So when I was 13 years old, I spent many hours driving back and forth from Northwest Indiana to South Haven to go fishing with my grandfather and my father. I have a lot of fond memories of those experiences. I remember driving home on one of those trips and I said to myself, someday I'm going to live in Southwest Michigan. And in 1996, when a job became available in Bridgman, I relocated my family here, and I've never regretted that decision. Over the past 28 years, I've owned 5 boats, the last 2 of which are currently docked at Pier 1000 Marina, and I own one slip and I rent the other. In addition to the other comments you'll hear this morning about why emergency dredging is necessary, I wanted to give you another perspective. Boating and fishing are just plain fun. and activities that can be done as a family outside in the sun and the fresh air and get kids away from sitting in front of a TV or a computer screen are so valuable, in my opinion. We tell our friends and family who we invite here every year to go on the boat ride with us on the lake or go fishing, that Berrien County is a great place to live. And the access we have to Lake Michigan is the best. And it's why we continue to live here. And it's our #1 recreational asset. So I hope you will give consideration to my family and the thousands of other families who come here every summer to Berrien County to enjoy the St. Joe River and Lake Michigan. I highly recommend it. And who knows, maybe someday we'll attract more families who will want to relocate and live and work here. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am. Name and town, name and town.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Myers. I own Pier 1000 Meridian with my husband Bob, and we are in District 5. In case anybody didn't know where we're at, we're kind of on the border. We're in St. Joe Township, but we have a Benton Harbor address. So, you know, it's kind of, some people, it's kind of confusing where we're actually at. I had to bring just a article with me that my mother packed away lots of stuff. Plus you owned the marina before us. This is an article in the newspaper, front page, just like today. This is from May 14th of 2000. Same problem, 24 years later. What I found interesting in the article was that someone actually did a study. And as of this year, in 2000, that this person that was in charge of our voting group back then said that recreational boating brings $20 million per year into the Twin Cities, not just Berrien County, into the St. Joe Benton Harbor area. 20 million 24 years ago. Somebody want to figure out how much that is now? It's a lot. It's a lot of money. I appreciate the county's help, Dan's help. He's been great, but I hate to think that I think the dredging is still 100% on the people that use the river. Because, you know, boaters bring so much more money into the Twin Cities rather than just, it's not just for us. I mean, we eat at restaurants, Silver Beach Pizza. You know, they live here on the weekends. They do their grocery shopping here. They, you know, it's more than just us paying for the dredging, which we'll all pay our fair share. But I think as municipalities, something has to happen that everybody helps pay to maintain this river. Other one, pretty soon,
2 minutes,
you know, it'll be on. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. Name and town. Use the microphone, please.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Curtis. I'm from Bridgman. I'm a Berrien County native, a husband and a father of 2. I've been blessed to be a small business owner making a living in a world-class salmon and trout fishery right in our backyard. Today, I'm not going to bombard you with a slew of numbers showcasing how our freshwater fishery and recreational boating generate millions of dollars into Berrien County. Instead, I'm here to ask you for help in maintaining the channel for safe navigation. While we cannot control Mother Nature, we can certainly take steps to maintain the waters we utilize. Our river's watershed encompasses 3,742 river miles and drains 4,685 square miles across its counties. With such vast numbers, the river bottom is constantly changing. Since the flood in 2018, the lower river has undergone significant transformations. In order for everyone to safely reach the lake, there's a small area downstream from the marinas, dock owners, state and municipal boat launches, stretching from Eagle Point Marina to Bicentennial Bridge that could benefit from immediate dredging. To ensure safety, the deepest channel will be marked with red green navigation buoys. I've already reached out to Mr. Fetty, our drain commissioner, the St. Joseph City manager, the local dredge and survey companies, all who are willing to step up to address the issue. We, the boaters, marinas, and associations are prepared to do whatever is necessary to establish a harbor maintenance program. Today, we're asking for your support in expediting the permitting and funding process so that we can have a safe and successful season on the water. Thank you for your attention, and let's work together to ensure the safety of our waterways.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
All right, my name's Russ Clark from Stevensville, Michigan. I ran a charter boat service here, been so lucky to be in this beautiful community for 39 years. It's kind of astounding the amount of revenue that's the spinoff effect from boating. I have approximately 1,000 clients. They all get motel rooms, say 700-800 motel rooms in a year. They all go out to eat. They love to go to Silver Beach Pizza, Grand Mirror. I mean, they visit all the places. And, and there's 30 charter boats in this area. That's just me. You start compounding those numbers along with boaters. There's 200 slips at Pier 1000, like 140 at Bryan's, 150 at Eagle Point. I mean, these are big numbers. These are people that spend a ton of money in the community. So I just hope y'all realize how important it is to tourism. And tourism is the biggest revenue maker in St. Joe. Whether we like it or not, this is what is happening here. I have people from all over. They come from Texas, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. They love it here. And they go fishing with me. Oh, this is great. We're going to bring our wife and kids back here. And they come back on their own, So that little waterway is so imperative, because if people can't get through, people are going to talk about it. They're not going to come to St. Joe. St. Joe go. We're better than Saugatuck, South Haven. We can do it right here. So let's get her done, guys. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, sir. Name and town,
Well, my name is Douglas Hines. I'm from Grand Harbor, Michigan, where I'm located in South Bend, Indiana. And I'm the reason why my dog situation about getting the dog back. And it's like I'm a dog breeder, but I'm located out in Indiana. That's why the dog didn't have no license. And you don't have to have license in Indiana. So he's the one sort of been buying my dog. So I went on town, so he wanted to keep it for a couple days. So and the dog broke out. So when the dog broke out, somebody got it. And he went Friday, the day to get it. Then they told him he needed a bill of sale to get it back. So all right, I got back in town. We went up there with a bill of sale. They said it didn't work. So I got some the doctor notes that I took to the vet with me to get the dog vaccinated and all that. But since the dog name don't match up with the name he's naming it don't work. So I just named it Black Farm Dog 1, but he named it a different name. But the first thing when I came in to get my dog back, all they asked me was how much I want, what I get this dog from. They wanted to buy the dog and keep the dog. I gave them all the information they needed to get the dog back. It's just because the name wasn't matching up to the name he's naming, it wasn't. Because they told me I can show them pictures, conversation, I showed them everything they needed just to get the dog back, but they wouldn't still let me get the dog back, even off my doctor's slip.
Who's they?
Okay. When you say they, do you mean the animal control
Yeah, animal
department?
control.
Okay.
And that's all they was worried about, how much I wanted for the dog. And they took my dog home, and took it home and let them take their dog. I don't allow that. And they had walking around the facility. When I walked in, they said, oh, it wasn't enough cages. Then he went back yesterday, and now it's cages, and y'all got it in the back. So I'm feel like, what is y'all really trying to do? This is a expensive dog. It's a French Bulldog Fluff.
2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, we'll conclude. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I would like to say something. I was born in Benton Harbor, Michigan, lived there all my life. I don't know how to swim. I don't know how to run a boat. I don't know whatever, but I love the water. And the park by 2000, the Pier 1000 is Charles L. Yarborough Park. And we sat there and we watched trees grow up that blocked our fireworks looking at in St. Joe. That's how long we have been coming there. And I think that we need to stop stopping things. We need to do, it's cold in the winter, that's when you can go out and play. When it's summer and people are coming, let them come. We've always had more Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin cars at Gene Clark Park and Silver Beach and all of that. But we get there, get on a bike or get on a boat or whatever and get to the parks. And the things that you name to stop the Venetian Festival, it was too many people. Now you're talking about Silver Beach Pizza. Are there too many people? This is business and you should help it. And if it bothers you, just close the curtains and stay in until when? October, November, or something like that, you know? So we should stop interfering with business, the things that are happening, the carousel. There's so many beautiful things and it needs to happen and people are coming, they like it. I go there for the music, I sit on the water, I'm not much getting in it, but just, you know, have that attitude. We moved here, it was a beach, people have been coming here for 100 years or more. Whoever owns it. And that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Other business. And we will follow up with Dan Fetty with corporate counsel. The board speaks as a unit. I mean, individually, we may have opinions. As one vote, I want to help recreational boating. It's good for the county. But we have to speak as a body. And with that, does anyone have any other business before we break somewhat late for committees? Okay, we're back here at 10:30.